Identification of challenges in learning. Does your child struggle with school? Does your child have a consistent problem in a certain area of learning? Is your child labeled slow? Is your child assigned to a less challenging class? Do you feel your child needs special assistance in learning? Insecurity about your child in comparison of his performance to others? Not to worry, every problem has several solutions. Diagnosis is important for remedial measures. Remember, your child is gifted in many ways but is challenged only in a few. So we need to calm our fears and understand some basics. What should I do? The first step is to identify the areas of challenge. Understand that your child needs to master a few skills. Let us look at identification of learning challenges based on the age of the child. We have 3 categories: preschool, 5 to 9, 10 to 13. So looking at the signs and symptoms of learning disabilities for preschool, these are children who would predominantly have problems pronouncing words, trouble finding the right word, difficulty rhyming, trouble learning the alphabet, numbers, colors, shapes, days of the week, and they have difficulty following directions or learning routines. These are children who have difficulty controlling crayons, pencils, scissors, or coloring within the line. They also have trouble with buttons, zippers, snaps, and learning to tie the shoes. Looking at the learning challenges for the ages 5 to 9, we see that these children have trouble learning the connection between letters and sounds, unable to blend sounds to make words, confuse the basic words when reading, slow to learn new skills, consistently misspell words and make frequent errors. They also have trouble learning basic math concepts, and they have difficulty telling the time and remembering the sequence. What are the challenges that are faced by the 10 to 13-year-old child? First, they have difficulty with reading comprehension or math skills. They have trouble with open-ended test questions and word problems. They dislike reading and writing and avoid reading aloud. They have poor handwriting. They have poor organizational skills, especially like the bedroom, homework, desk is messy and disorganized. And they have trouble following classroom discussions and expressing thoughts aloud. They spell the same word differently in a single document. You can also pay attention to the developmental milestones which can help you identify the correct learning disorder. Hence, paying attention to normal developmental milestones for toddlers and preschoolers is very important. Early detection of the developmental differences may be an early signal of a learning disability, and problems that are spotted early are easier to correct. Specific learning disabilities revolve mostly around reading, writing, and math. Dyslexia or learning disabilities in reading are generally of 2 kinds. The basic reading problems happen when children are unable to identify the relationship between sounds, letters, and words. The other is the reading comprehension problems, which occur because of the inability of a child to grasp the meaning of the words, the phrases, and the paragraphs. Hence, it is very important that we identify what exactly is the problem. Some children find it very difficult to recognize letters and words. Some are unable to understand the words and the ideas. Some children are unable to read quickly with fluency. And sometimes we just see general vocabulary skills, which is a difficulty with certain children. So when we talk about dyslexia, we need to understand what is the exact area of difficulty that the child is facing. Next, we need to understand about dyscalculia. It is the learning disability in math. Learning disabilities in math vary greatly depending on the child's strengths and the weaknesses. A child's ability to do math would be affected by his language abilities, his learning abilities, and visual capabilities. So, his ability to sequence, to remember, and to organize could also be correlated. Hence, a child with a math-based learning disorder will struggle with memorization and organization of numbers. Operation science, number facts like 5 plus 5 is equal to 10 or 5 into 5 is equal to 25. So children with math learning disorders might have trouble with the counting principles, counting by twos, counting by fives. They have difficulty telling time. So we need to understand in math what are the specific problems that he is facing, and then we could find remedial measures easily. Dysgraphia refers to the learning disabilities in writing. Now when we see the act of writing, there are two activities involved. One is the physical activity and one is the mental activity. When we talk of physical act of writing, it is the difficulty in forming the words and the letters, writing it down. The second kind of mental activity disturbances could be when they have a disability in expressive writing. They struggle to organize thoughts onto the paper. So generally, the symptoms that we see where people with written language learning disabilities are, they are unable to write neatly and consistency in writing any format, accurately copying letters and words, spelling correctly, writing organization, the way they organize and coherently express their ideas. These would basically be the kinds of challenges that students face when they write. Dyspraxia or learning difficulties in motor skills. Now, motor skills talks about movement and coordination. So when we're talking about movement and coordination, there could be two kinds of problems. One, the fine motor skills like cutting, writing, etc., or gross motor skills like running, jumping. So a motor disability is sometimes referred to as an output activity. When can an individual perform, act? This output is influenced by the brain and the brain processing the information it has acquired. So it is very important to understand why the child is unable to perform a motor activity. And this can be seen in various forms like hand-eye coordination disturbances, even a problem holding a pencil or buttoning a shirt. Aphasia or dysphagia refers to learning disabilities in language. Language and communication learning disabilities involves the ability to understand and produce a spoken language. Language is also considered to be an output activity because the brain has to organize information, organize thoughts, and call upon the right word to verbally explain something or to communicate with somebody else. So the signs of language-based learning disorder involve problems with verbal language skills such as ability to retell a story, the fluency of speech, as well as the ability to understand the meaning of words, parts of speech, direction, etc. The importance of the ears and eyes in the auditory and visual processing problems can also be an issue in today's learning. The eyes and the ears are primarily the means of giving information to the brain. So they are called the input to the brain, and hence without the right input, the brain cannot process effectively, and hence learning doesn't take place. Hence, this auditory processing skills that a child has or does not have could be the reason for learning disabilities. The inability to distinguish between subtle sounds or hearing sounds at the wrong speed may make it difficult to sound out words and understand the basic concepts of reading and writing. The inability of a child to process what he sees is known as the visual processing disorder. Problems in visual perception include missing subtle differences in shapes, reversing letters or numbers, skipping words, skipping lines, misperceiving depth or distance, having problems with eye-hand coordination are all called visual processing problems. Visual perception can affect gross and fine motor skills, reading comprehension, and math. We need to calm ourselves and we need to understand that the brain can change. Can the brain really change? Yes. Under the right learning conditions, the brain has the ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. These new connections facilitate skills like reading and writing that were difficult using the old connections. Science has made remarkable discoveries about the brain. These discoveries bring new hope for learning and challenges in learning. This knowledge will help us have groundbreaking new treatments, innovative programs, strategic brain exercises, treatment programs rather than coping strategies. Learning disabilities is a frustrating experience, and hence, children with challenges in learning should also be able to have social and emotional skills, because it's very embarrassing in front of the class when they are struggling to express themselves. Parent support system, teacher support system, peer support system would help in overcoming such challenges. Learning disabilities influence or have a great impact on the academic challenges, and this again in turn has a lot of impact and pressure on social and emotional well-being of a student. Hence, it is very important to strengthen social and emotional skills, face and work academic challenges as they come, teach the child to overcome specific learning disabilities, and be a success in life. Difficulty in school doesn't always stem from a learning disability. Anxiety, depression, stressful events, emotional trauma, there are so many other conditions that could affect concentration, making learning a challenge. Identification of the challenge in learning is important.